The story goes, the famous Pablo Picasso was at the party. A woman recognized him and approached the master. She asked, "Will you create a sketch for me?" Picasso agreed. So he pulls out his sketch pad and asks her, "What shall it be, madam?" She tells him what she wants, so Picasso spends few minutes doing what, well, Picasso does best. After he was finished with his sketch, he rips the sketch off the pad, and it looks something like this. This is not the actual sketch, but something like this. Hands it to the woman and says, "That will be $10,000, please." The woman almost fainted. $10,000? Why? It only took you like 5 minutes to draw that sketch. To which Picasso replied, "No, madam, that sketch took me a lifetime." What is the moral of this story? The moral is, an artist is not paid for his labor, but for his vision. Labor is cheap. Labor is everywhere. Artistic vision is unique. You see, if you take a look at this sketch, it has what, 4 lines? I can do that. You can do that. A lot of people can do that. But if everybody can do it and it's so easy, then how much do you charge for the labor? $1, $2, $5, you think? Okay, let's say it's $5. But if you put a stamp, if you put a signature there that says Picasso, then you leverage the brand of Picasso and you get to charge $10,000. Not everybody will pay that money, but art collectors and lovers of Picasso will certainly pay. So, you see, Picasso didn't spend a lot of effort and in terms of actual labor to do this sketch, but he spent his entire life and a lot of labor to build the brand called Picasso, to build that reputation. And he did that by creating all kinds of revolutionary art and everything. And once he reached a certain point, when he established his brand, then it's much easier for him to charge for premium prices for very little work, right? Now, would it be nice if you can do the same thing? Well, before we get to that, let me tell you another story about Picasso and the power of his signature. It is said that he would pay when he owed something very small amounts. He would pay in personal check. So let's say he owns or needs to pay something that costs $10. He writes up a personal check to that amount. But here's the brilliant part. The person would not cash in the check, because if they do that, they only get $10. But if they keep the check, now they have a piece of paper with authentic, original Picasso signature. That itself can be sold for maybe $1,000. And he understood that benefit, right? How he can leverage that. Pay $10 for something, but to them it worth that much more. So it is said that his signature on a piece of paper was worth more than hard currency. But what does all of this relate to us, the creative professionals, photographers and retouchers? Well, you see, if only thing you do is take pictures, if only thing you do is take snapshots, you're charging for your labor, your button finger. You're not going to be able to charge very much because everybody can do that. In fact, there are hundreds and hundreds of thousands of different photographers out there who can do the same thing. So what are you really charging for? It's not the button finger, it's your artistic vision. If you can find a model or hire a model or be assigned a model, and you do you find people to do the makeup and the hair, and you set up the lighting and you direct the model, and you know what needs to be dressed and how it can be accentuated, and you understand the angles, and you do all that. Well, not everybody can do that, and if somebody might come along and they might do a bit of a different job. The more different it is, the better, because the easier it is to copy what you can do, less valuable you become by definition. So if you have a very unique artistic vision like some individuals have, and you brand that and you leverage that for business, you can charge for the same amount of work premium prices. Now be honest with me here. How many times have you looked at some competitor, some photographer, some retoucher. You looked at their work and you said, well, I could do that, or well, that's not that good, but take a look at the list of their clients and how much they're charging, right? So what's the missing component? Well, it's not just artistic vision, it's artistic vision packaged as brand plus other things which are somewhat intangible. But what about retouchers? Well, if only thing you can do is remove the blemishes, and that's all you can do, well, we're entering the age where even computer programs can do much of that. They can smooth out the skin, possibly remove some of the blemishes. Well, what does that leave you, right? You're no longer that valuable if that's the only thing you can do. Plus, if that's the only labor you're paying for, you're charging, there are thousands and thousands of others who can do the same work. But what if you could do something more? What if you could take an image and add some artistic flair to it? Bring your vision to life. Well, then they're not just paying you to do the work, because here's the thing, I can teach you how to move sliders on a curve, or how to mask a certain portion and change the color. I could teach you that, but that's the how. That's still not very valuable. People want to know the why. Why would you do that? Is it good or bad? Does it benefit the image? Does it damage the image? Does it take away from that creative vision, or does it, do the other way? You see, you want to learn the how, but you definitely want to learn the why. Why would you do that? And why am I saying this? Well, it is said that those that know the how, the techniques, and that's the only thing they know, so those that know the how will always have a job. There will always be a place somewhere in the world for people like that, but they're not going to be charged very much. And they're not going to be able to charge very much. But if you know the why, those that know the why, the principles, the reasons why we do this, they will always be the boss on those that only know the how. So you definitely want to learn the why. And the why, that's your artistic vision. Why did you do something? Can you justify it? Do you know how certain colors blend in? Do you know how certain colors complement each other? Do you know what's the industry standards? Which are the industry trends and how do this fit in? By knowing all those things, that becomes your artistic vision. All you gotta do is then label it and market it. So let me tell you another story. Recently I was on YouTube, and there was a small clip, like a minute long clip, and it was, what's the future of photography? And the camera crew pulled in this older lady, she's a photographer. So they asked her, what's the future of photography? And she gave an interview, and in an interview it wasn't really interesting. It wasn't anything spectacular, and if you just saw that, you would not be very much interested. It's just not interesting, not very inspiring, nothing revolutionary, right? But then if you take a look at the views on the YouTube, there are a lot of views. So what's going on? Well, it all makes sense when I tell you who the person on the video is. It was Anne Leibovitz. So whether you like her or not, whether you find her popular or not, she is popular. She has spent her lifetime building that brand. She has spent her lifetime building that interview. So when even something ridiculous, I wouldn't say ridiculous, but certainly not interesting, is said by a woman like that, it's still her. It's still Anne Leibovitz. That's why people watch, right? Because of the brand name, the recognition of that brand. So you can do the same thing, but it's not going to happen overnight. But if you focus only on the labor, it will never happen. So right from the start, I wouldn't necessarily focus my efforts in branding and advertising work only the labor. Focus instead on the artistic vision. How do you do that? Well, in the full course we'll talk about many of these things, but here's a tip. Show, don't tell. Right? If you have a good artistic vision, good eye, create some work with that artistic vision, display that, And if the work speaks for itself, don't interrupt. And we'll talk about other ways in which you can leverage and build that vision in form of a brand, and then truly leverage that in business. But just think about what you heard in this video. An artist is not paid for the labor, he's paid for his vision. So how can you use that in your creative field, whether that be retouching or photography? Think about it.